Hey everyone, Jim here from VillageLocal. I can see a few people trickling in. This is all very exciting. This is the first time I'm doing a live stream, so hopefully you can hear me. If anybody wants to send a message, you can post it in the chat. Chris Anders says, hi Jim. How you going, Chris? Hi Sam. If you can hear me, maybe just click that little chat box down below. Hi, Jim, can hear you. Thanks, Maureen, appreciate that. All right, look, let's jump into it, right? So you would have seen in the Community Hub that I've been pretty busy with letting people know about the CarePath program, the CarePath Navigator program. And Misha and I were just chatting a couple of days ago, actually, and we sort of got this theory that there's a lot of people in the Community Hub, and our theory is that there is a lot of people that kind of sit on the bench and watch the conversation and extract a lot of value out of that conversation, which is all good and well. And then there's another cohort of people which are very active participants and are creating a lot of knowledge sharing, which is so amazing to see. And the conversation is quite fluid. You know, people post stuff and people sort of share knowledge and whatnot. And we just thought that it would be really, really useful for people, for a certain cohort of people, to have a more structured way of navigating their way through the aged care system, accessing the level of support that they need. So that was really the nexus behind going live with the CarePath Navigator program, which is really a structured way of getting people a little bit of guidance, a little bit of coaching, a little bit of support as they progress along that home care journey. So in parallel to that very structured CarePath Navigator program, we thought it'd be really nice as well to, regularly get on a live call, field questions about aged care matters as you progress through the journey, and see, if we can kind of debug any challenges or move some barriers out of the way to help people continuing to progress through the journey. I'm just going to keep an eye on these comments as they flow in. So that's really the foundation behind why we're doing this, the purpose of it. But also there's another aspect of it as well. There's a lot of people that aren't enrolled into the CarePath Navigator program, and that's totally cool as well. Just so you know, the CarePath Navigator program is totally free, right? It doesn't cost anything. But I'm always, as most people know, I'm always sort of scanning the comments. Sometimes I don't participate in the conversation, but I'm always reading. And sometimes the comments that are made, they may generally be correct, but they might be just left of the actual fact of how the system works. So this kind of semi-regularly session gives an opportunity to get another perspective on how things may pan out with regards to the way the protocols are written for the aged care system. So I hope that all makes sense. I hope that people understand the rationale behind these. And with that, I also want to add, as most people know, I don't know everything, right? My skill set is really around trying to figure out what the problem is and trying to figure out where to find the information. That's what I consider myself pretty good at. And over the years of doing that, specifically in the aged care system, I've obviously gathered a lot of knowledge of how stuff works, but I don't know everything. And if I get asked a question on here, well, and I don't know, I'll tell straight up, I don't know the answer to that. But we'll take it on notice, and we'll get the answer for everybody to benefit from as well. So with that, I'm gonna raise a question that Adele Clark put out there. So Adele, your situation is quite interesting, pretty unique actually. We don't often come across those challenges, but I'm going to read your question out to everybody. Your question was, I've been charged top dollar by my home care provider for very little service and am contemplating cancelling it. According to them, I owe them $8,000 in management fees. What happens to this debt if I cancel my home care package? All right, really good question. And you've since sort of come back to me saying you've paid some of that debt back, right? So that one, there's actually a lot to unpack there. And what I mean by that is the fees that a home care provider charges their consumer. Some of those fees, they're the fees that organization, it's their prices, it's their money, right? And as a service provider, a business, they're entitled to charge what they want to charge. There's caps that the government has now put in place. But as a business, to do the service that they do, they can bill services for it, charge fees, okay? But then there are other fees that the home care provider charges that they're charging on behalf of another entity. And that other entity is the government, right? So what I'm talking about there, where that often comes up, is for those people who are partially funded retirees or fully funded retirees. And because they've got another income stream, being superannuation or other managed assets, the government requires that consumer to do what they call an income tested care fee calculation, okay? And that is essentially the government saying, all right, we're going to entitle you to have access to a home care package, but at the same time, because you have another income, you've got to contribute to that support, okay? So that amount that you have to contribute is known as the income tested care fee. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Now, to collect that money from you, the government has made it the responsibility of the home care provider to be the collector of the money. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So a lot of people feel that, you know, who are self-funded retirees or fully funded retirees, that their home care provider is charging them this exorbitant fee. But really, it's actually the government that has said, this money you have to give back to the government. Home care provider, collect that money. All right. Now, Adele, your situation, I'm not sure if that's your situation, right? Because there is also, and to confuse things a little bit, and hopefully people are sort of staying along with this, there is another type of fee that a home care provider sometimes charges. And I'll just say this, majority of home care providers across the country do not charge this fee. But this fee is called a basic daily fee, okay? Basic daily fee. The basic daily fee is the provider's fee, okay? That is a fee that as a company, as an organization, that is a bill that they are choosing to give to their client as essentially an effective type, another type of service fee that they want to charge, okay? If you're trying to figure out if you're getting charged the basic daily fee, it typically looks like $10 per day, every day, regardless if you get service that day or not, okay? So that can also come into play and sort of rack up the debt, right? Adele, my gut tells me that the bill that you're getting charged by your provider is the income tested care fee. Can you sort of in the comments just give us a yes or a no if I'm on the right track here? I think I am though. Yeah. Okay. So the next part of your question though, so let's consider that as being your situation. The next part of the question is, well, your question was, if I leave the organization or if I cancel my services, what happens? Do I still owe this debt? Okay. So let me answer it this way. So you've been given this you've gone to Centrelink and Centrelink or Services Australia, and they've said, all right, based on your assets, based on your other revenue stream, you have an income tested care fee of, that's all right, Paula, you're apologizing for being late, no apology required. you've got an income tested care fee of this amount of dollars. Okay. So say that's 10% of, you mentioned you're a level 3. You've mentioned that to the public that you're a level 3. So I'm happy to say that. Level 3 home care package, which is about, it's just gone up this month to last month to $39,000 a year. So let's say the income tested care fee was 10% of the home care package fee. So, of the home care package funds. Government refers to this as a subsidy, right? So we'll use the term subsidy. So 10% of $39,000 is $3,900. Okay. So Adele, your contribution, hypothetically, if it was a 10% contribution, would be $3,900. And the government subsidy that the government would pay into your support services would be 90% of that $39,000. So, 35 and a half, whatever it is. Okay. So those two fees together, those two sources of funding together, enable you with your $39,000 of funding, right? Now, your question is, what happens if I leave, okay, or cancel? Well, over the years or months that you should have been getting services, getting your home care package, your home care provider was sending bills out to say, hey, we're delivering services for you, right? And here is your statement for your home care packages, level 3. But at the same time, you would have been getting some other bill or notice to say, you got to give some income tested care fee. And over time, that income tested care fee was getting higher and higher and higher, the bill owing. And what happens is, if you leave that or stop it, that debt, that's not the provider's debt, okay? That's the debt that the government is saying you owe, right? So it doesn't matter if you cancel the fees or cancel the home care package services. You still have that government debt of the income tested care fee. I hope that makes sense. But in saying that, the information I'm giving, it's just general information, right? I don't have all the facts, but hopefully the way I'm explaining it to you is explaining how some of the fees that the home care providers charge, it's not their business. They're just the debt collector on behalf of the government, okay? Trouble is, I wasn't getting services. Okay. If you weren't getting services then, well, that sort of tells me that the debt that's accruing, that's the income tested care fee, which the government is requiring you to pay. But if you weren't getting services, then there's a good chance then that debt is wiped, because the contribution that you were making into the kitty, which you weren't making, but the potential contribution that you're making into the kitty, if you weren't getting services for those, then there's no debt to be had, right? Because let's say you purchased an hour of service, okay? An hour of service, for basic mathematics sake, costs $50 an hour, right? Because theoretically you've got a 10% income tested care fee, then out of that $50, you would pay 10% of that, and the home care package would pay 90% of that, right? So 10% of $50 is $5, and 90% is $45. So you would contribute $5, and the home care package would cover the other $45. But if you didn't get that hour of service and you got the invoice for the $5, then if you didn't get that hour of service, then you don't have to pay the $5. So even if the fee was accrued, but you didn't get the service, then you don't have to pay the debt. But if you accepted the service, you got to pay the debt. That's how it's going to be deemed. Again, I don't have all the facts. There might be some details missing for your specific situation, but that's generally where I can see it going. Okay. Hopefully that provides a little bit more clarity for you. If you've got more questions for me, then you can message me directly as well. Okay. Does anybody else want to post some questions? Oh, hang on. Paul has just put a question. Is that fee over and above the amount that the provider is taking each month? My letter states that the provider can ask me to pay $11.83 per day. It is up to them the way I read that. Absolutely, Paula, it is, right? It is above and beyond the fees that the other fees that are getting charged. So that's a really good question. So there's a few different types of fees, as most people know, that get charged, that become visible on your monthly statement, right? There is the package management fee, okay? There is the case management fee. There is potentially this thing called the basic daily fee. And for those who are semi or fully funded retirees, there is that other thing that Adele's observed, which is the income tested care fee, okay? So earlier this year, we saw the government coming in with some regulations around capping some of the fees, which were really around the package management fee and the case management fee. And what the government said is that when you combine these two fees together, no provider is now allowed to charge more than a combined 35%. Okay? But that third fee, which is the basic daily fee, is an additional fee on top of that. And it typically looks like, as you've pointed out there, Paula, about $10 a day. You've been quoted $11.83 a day. Now, little tip, most providers, well, let me just say this, the majority of providers no longer charge that basic daily fee. Let me just say that straight out of the gate. So if you're getting quoted the basic daily fee, it's not my position, or it's not for me to say whether it's right or wrong for an organization to charge the basic daily fee, right? I will say this though, there are many organizations who don't charge the basic daily fee, and they run profitable, sustainable, high quality organizations, okay? If an organization does choose to charge the basic daily fee, I'm not saying that it's a reflection on a reflection on their services or them as an organization. I'm just simply saying there are other organizations that don't need to charge it and can still provide a wonderful service for their clients. So, it's up to the consumer to shop around, right? But in saying this, let's say you come across an organization that you really want that organization to be your service provider. Maybe your friends are getting services from them and they have wonderful experiences from them. Maybe you know some support workers. Maybe you've got some sort of connection to that organization that you're set on that going to that organization. Well, and they charge you the basic daily fee, or they quote you the basic daily fee. You've got every right as a consumer, a well-informed consumer, to simply ask them, hey, look, I really respect your organization. I know you do wonderful work. My friends advocate and back up everything you have to say. The challenge that I've got, though, is I just can't afford the basic daily fee. I've got these other life expenses that are really stressing me out. Would you be in the position to waive the basic daily fee? Because I've heard that there are other clients you've done that for, and I'd really greatly appreciate you could offer me that gesture as well. Okay? By having that open and honest discussion with a provider, chances are they're going to waive it. At the very least, they'll waive it for a while until you can afford it. Or they'll work with you in coming up with a solution. Very rarely have I seen an organization that says, no, basic daily fee, you got to pay it, or on your bike. I've never seen it happen, right? Guys, I know there's a lot of conversation in the community group where we're always sort of, judging home care providers. But if I'm being perfectly honest, I don't know about middle management, but the top leaders of these organizations, I speak to a lot of them regularly, and I haven't met one that sort of wakes up in the morning to think about how am I going to screw somebody over today? I don't see that from that top executive level. So at the end of the day, there's a lot of human decency out there. So you just got to kind of give people the positive intent, I suppose. Paul, I hope that answers your question. Trev, Old mate, the CEO of OPAN has reported that the government has not been listening to older people and is too cozy with the providers. How do we get them to listen to us? I have suggested to them that they should start talking to the staff of OPAN who are on the front line of complaints from us oldies. Okay. How do we get them to listen to us? We do what we're currently doing, mate. Votes speak louder than words. Now, let me just say, in case people aren't aware, OPAN, Old Persons Advocacy Network, that is a government-funded organization, right? The government, instead of having, a customer service department to take complaints and to do whatever, what they've done is they've just put a tender out to organizations to respond to say, hey, we've got this money. We want to be able to make sure that consumers have a voice and have a bit of muscle behind their voice to advocate for them. We don't want to do that in-house. We want to give it to an independent organization to do. That independent organization needs to be able to do this on behalf of the senior for free. We'll fit the bill of that, right? And they selected the Older Persons Advocacy Network to do that, right? So the Older Persons Advocacy Network, their payer is the government, right? So the government is like, they're like connected, okay? So the challenges that OPAN are out on the front line dealing with, well, OPAN's having government conversations. They're at the table with the government. The government pays them, right? So they're in close conversation. So yeah, I mean, the information is flowing, but I think the challenges that we're all seeing is that there is no easy answer for the challenges that the aged care system experiences. And policymakers, decision makers, they've got their hands tied a lot of the time. I don't know. I certainly don't have the answer. All I know is that the system is what it is. While that's getting sorted out, and I'm positive. I've got a positive mindset on it, right? I think it's all moving in the right direction. You cast a net back 10 years ago. I think if we took a vote, would you like it to look like it looked 10 years ago before home care packages and consumer directed care, or would you prefer for it to look like what it does today? I think most people would vote for what it is today, right? I think it's moving in the right direction. And I think the Future Support at Home program is further building on the positive aspects of what we see today, and trying to minimize the negative effects of the challenges that we see in the system today. So I think it's moving in the right direction. So yeah. But Trevor, I know that you've been really busy putting your name down in different advocacy groups as well. So mate, they say the squeaky wheel gets the oil, right? What else we got? Paula, no, but like all business are looking at their bottom line. Yeah, I agree, Paula. Organizations are looking at their bottom line. I have to commonly have a conversation around people who are exploring different providers, and they have a mindset of not-for-profit organization equals high value, for-profit organization equals higher cost, less value, right? We all have to be squeaky wheels. Yes, that's right. So there's a misconception between what is a not-for-profit organization, the value that they provide, versus a for-profit organization, the value that they provide. Can I just say from the outset, there is absolutely no correlation between the value or the price tag that a home care provider charges based on their corporate structure, okay? Not-for-profit versus PTY Ltd company is corporate structure, right? There's no correlation between what these two corporate structures have to do with anything to do with the price they charge, the administration fees they charge. There are some wonderful not-for-profit home care providers out there that give extremely high value services, lowest fees, great quality. The flip side, There are other not-for-profit organizations that are the most expensive services in the country. And I scratch my head to think how they feel it's warranted to charge the fees that they charge. The only thing I can put it down to is they're not bad people or poor business people. They're just got financial constraints, heavy overheads that they can't get rid of, that they just have to charge these high prices to cover those costs, right? The flip side, you look at for-profit organizations. So these are the little businesses, husband and wife teams with maybe 30 carers that look after the local community. They're run as for-profit organizations. When I say for-profit, they're not making big profits. They're just paying themselves a salary. And there might be a little bit left over, which they typically use to, give bonuses to their support workers for doing such a great job, right? The for-profit, there's, it's these small organizations. I see a lot of them structured as a for-profit organization, but they give some of the lowest fees. So don't ever get sucked into a salesperson's marketing spin if you're speaking to a not-for-profit organization that's leading with the fact of, oh, we're not-for-profit, and they give their pitch. It's got nothing to do with anything, right? At the end of the day, when you speak to an organization, for-profit, not-for-profit, you simply just say to them, can you please answer these questions that I've got for you? And I want you to know that I'm going to be comparing you to another organization whom I'll be asking the same questions to. And then you go away and you make a decision, right? Forget the corporate structure. It's for the bean counters and, taxation lawyers, all right? Paul, I feel a bit the same way, Nicole, but I feel so blessed to have VillageLocal. Oh, thanks, Paul. Appreciate that, mate. Nicole, new to this game, sounds a nightmare. Sounds a nightmare. Look, for me, this is it's the biggest pain in my life, to be honest with you. Like, it keeps me up at night. I can honestly say it keeps me up at night. Before we created the community hub, right? One of the biggest concerns that we had was creating the wrong impression of what the aged care system looks like. Okay. We know that there are challenges in the aged care system, and we know we all experience them every day. Okay. Not shying away from them. But we also know the benefits that the aged care system has. And I have experience with aged care systems across the world, globally. Okay. I've got friends and colleagues working in the similar space to where I work in different European aged care systems, Singaporean aged care system, Malaysian, and we all share notes. We all sort of get insights. And guys, we've got the best aged care system in the world. I hands down believe that and stand by that. Right? It's not corrupt. It's got its ear close to the ground. Are there challenges that have people hamstrung? Absolutely. Policymakers and whatnot scratching their head as to the way moving forward? Yes. But I think everybody who's receiving home care packages and things like that, I think, taking the good with the bad, they're generally grateful and appreciative of whatever support that they're getting. So, and like if you were to pose the question to most people, maybe not all, but to most people who are receiving a home care package, if you were to ask them, considering all the challenges that you've got and all the friction and bureaucracy of your home care package, would you give it up? Would you just cancel it and do things yourself? The majority of people would say no. They would hold on to it. I think it's worth it. Okay. So Nicole, like your comment is not in isolation. A lot of people say that, they just throw their hands up. But I say, guys, it's worth it. At least for most people anyway. So don't be disillusioned by it. Arm yourself with the resources you need to minimize the friction and the challenges that you're going to experience, right? So yeah. See the chatter going away. That's awesome to see. Elders Council waiting for answer. Yeah, awesome. Adele, home care package has ordered a lift chair for me, which I chose and OT approved, valued at $3,600. They have charged my funds $3,960. Have they the right to add 10% to every purchase they make for me? Yes, but it depends. Okay, let me answer that for you. So this was a conversation that became really, really top of mind earlier this year when the government came out with all these capping of prices and stuff like that. The government said that provider can no longer automatically charge what they call a brokerage fee for third-party services and products. Okay, so Adele, the difference between 3,960 and 3,600, yeah, it's about 10%. Is it exactly? Anyway, yeah, it's 10%. In order for your provider to slap that 10% on, you would have, the legislation now says that you as the consumer would now have to have been made aware that a 10% service fee, handling fee, brokerage fee, whatever they want to call it, would be applied to any third-party service. Okay, and if you do not have that in writing, that you've been made aware of that, then no, they can't do that. Okay, but at the beginning of the year, when all these new changes came through, providers got pretty busy in having all their consumers, their clients, sign new service agreements. Okay, and in that service agreement, it's probably in there to say, hey, for third-party services, we apply this fee. And it's up to the consumer to say, I don't approve that fee. Let's talk about that. And you've got every right to ask them to waive it. But, I don't know where I think you'd have a tough conversation to have to renege that 10% brokerage fee after the fact. Okay. But you've, like everybody listening in, you've got every right to have a look at your service agreement and to say, I disagree, I disagree, I disagree. Call up your case manager, call up the decision maker at the provider and say, we need to set up a meeting. We need to talk about some of these things because I think we need to talk about the value exchange here, and I'd like to negotiate some of these fees. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. And it's not about, I know a lot of people don't like negotiating, but it's not about being like a hard negotiator or anything like that. It's just simply asking the question and being polite and being respectful of somebody else's organization. Say, hey, look, I know that you run a great service. I'm appreciative of it, but I'd like to talk about the value in this because I know that there's some other organizations that can offer alternatives. I really don't want to switch providers. I love being supported by your organization and my support worker, but I want to just talk about the value that I'm currently receiving because I know that the industry, the market, is providing a lot of additional value now. Let's have that conversation. Okay. All right. Just looking through the comments as well. Okay. Hey, Misha put an interesting post out. I think it was yesterday, maybe the day before. He was asking people, what would they tell somebody else? What advice would they give somebody who is yet to embark on the home care journey and is about to? And I was really impressed by some of those comments, on all those comments that were put out there. I think that was all really, really good advice. So thanks to everybody who contributed to that. I do want to call out a couple of comments though. I'm just going to see if I can bring it up. Where is it? I'm just looking at my other screen here. Here we go. What do you wish you knew before applying for a home care package? There were some good ones in here, right? Yeah, here's the one I want to call out. It was written by Kathleen Ann Koo. I'm not calling this out because it was better or worse than anybody else. Everybody who contributed amazing comments. But this one here, it's something we often don't talk about. I'll read it out. My husband and I are self-funded retirees and are currently receiving CHSP services, not income or means tested, which has been really helpful. I've just submitted a question about how we might be impacted with the Commonwealth Home Support Program and the income means test home care package once the home care package is amalgamated. Okay. The thing I want to call out about this particular comment was the positivity, the positive experience around Commonwealth Home Support Program services. I'm just moving my head a little bit because it's at this time of day, there is a window right opposite me that the sun comes glaring into my eyes. There we go. Commonwealth Home Support Program services. Now, this person here is getting a wonderful, Kathleen is getting a wonderful experience from the Commonwealth Home Support Program. The Commonwealth Home Support Program, as we all know, is very different to the home care package system. The Commonwealth Home Support Program, you're kind of given a grant, or the organisation is given grant money, and the consumer are given codes, essentially. They're essentially tickets that you can go to any organisation which has the grant money to fund these tickets for whatever types of service you need. Now, this person, Kathleen, has managed to connect with various organisations under the Commonwealth Home Support Program who provide different types of services to have her tickets filled, essentially, for her to, clip her tickets. And she's talked about, she's going to one organisation that gives domestic assistance, which she's very, very, her and her husband are very, very grateful for. And she goes on to talking about the goods and equipment and assistive technology aspect of it as well, which is what we call GATE, the GATE system, the GATE process, or the GATE process. I don't know how to pronounce it, where that's an initiative that the government has made available for those who need equipment. You can get approved for it under the Commonwealth Home Support Program, and you get an occupational therapist to approve you, or a healthcare professional to approve you for different equipment, and you can get one of these tickets to say, yes, you've got this approval, go to the GATE supplier, and there's a few now, right? AdaCare, Indigo, there's a few other ones. You call them up, they're part of the government program called GATE. You say, I've got this approval for an item. I want to get that. So I want to call that out because a lot of people feel that Commonwealth Home Support Program is useless and fixated on getting a home care package. And in many regards, that can be the reality. But it really does come down to how willing are you to, ring different organisations and find an organisation that will help you deliver the Commonwealth Home Support Program for you in a valuable way, and know what you can get out of the Commonwealth Home Support Program as well. And this is important information to know, specifically if you are a self-funded retiree or a semi-funded retiree, and the idea of paying an income-tested care fee on a home care package doesn't excite you, like for most it wouldn't, then getting the most out of the Commonwealth Home Support Program is definitely something you want to try to figure out. Okay. All right. Has anyone else got any other questions that you want to raise while I'm on the call? These comments that everyone's making on the side are fantastic. We'll scan through those comments and potentially use them to produce other content, other video blogs. So everybody knows as well, this morning I just got off a call with a very influential and well-accomplished elder care law attorney. And this is on the back of the conversations that we're having in the community group earlier this week about wills and power of attorney and enduring power of attorney and guardianship and all that. So I just had a full 1 hour conversation with a gentleman by the name of Brian Hurd. He's an author, he's an educator, he knows a lot in that regard. So I'm just doing the final edit on that, and I'll be sharing that with everybody shortly as well. If nobody else got any other questions, I will remind everybody that the CarePath Navigator Program is available, totally free. As people progress through that program, it's broken up into different modules, and we've kind of designed it to follow people through the aged care journey, from understanding how the aged care system works to preparing for your first conversation with My Aged Care in order to request that assessment, to preparing for an assessment, to knowing what to do after the assessment. Takes you through the whole journey, right? And we combine these with these coaching sessions and one-on-one calls as well. It'll be a really, really valuable experience. So if you are sitting on the sideline or a little bit daunted by going through the system, then get yourself into that Navigator program, and we'll be there every step of the way to support you. Okay. All right. Well, look, let's leave it at there. There's no other questions to answer at this stage. I'm just reading your comment. My sister's a home support and she's carers get a large lawn mowed, give us 3 people, then quotes 50, which she has to pay. Yep. Yeah, Paul, I think the most important thing I gained from today is that it's vital to do your due diligence before doing anything. I think that, you know, couldn't have said it better myself. That's what it's about. That's what VillageLocal has always been about, right? It's about empowering people, not just with the knowledge of how the aged care system works, but with the ability to critique the information that you're being given. Okay, guys, let me let you in on a little secret. The professionals, the aged care experts that you will encounter through the aged care journey, me included, okay, do not have all the answers. I said that from right at the beginning. There is no way, not a chance, that anybody, and I'm happy to be disproven, I hope I get disproven here, but it's my belief there is no one in this country that knows all the aspects of the aged care system, okay? No one. And the reason why is because it's always bloody changing. The systems are always changing. The rules and regulations are always changing. You can't stay across it all. So that being the case, what's really important is for you to be empowered, to have the knowledge to ask the right questions, okay? That's what it's about. So in addition to what Paula said, do your due diligence. Do you do due diligence armed with the ability to ask really direct questions, and don't be afraid to ask them. Okay. Cool. All right. Well, let's leave it at that. If you've got any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat, in the general conversation area. You can send me direct messages as well. You all know how to reach me. I hope you all found that valuable, and look forward to the next one. Take care. See ya.